Hello and welcome to 365 Days Towards Racial Change. My name is Thomas Nyback, here talking about black issues here in America, how we get along, what's important, what our priorities should be, how black people are orientated in history and in the world. Mostly we deal with domestic issues and the like. Um, in our study for this year. This is day 219, coming up on the home stretch, another month or two. We've talked about sources of racism, what it looks like present day, things like that. You know, in the study, I've come up with two main concerns. First is the mind of human beings. First, the mind of black people. Um, is it a passive or active? Is it engaged in its environment moment by moment? Is it sober? I'm an advocate of sobriety, meaning not just away from alcohol, but away from drugs. I live in a state where recreational use of marijuana is legal. Hey, I had my big day, many years involved, but the nature of racism is such that it's imperative that black folks be sober, be totally serious always about what's going on around them. We need not be checking out uh, because trust me, from what I've learned this year, white power, white entities are hard at work 24/7 at being creative on how to keep people marginalized and disadvantaged. I mean, being stoned, drunk, high, strung out, you don't even have a fighting chance at being, in my opinion, at being uh, truly serious about seeing the majority of black folks live better, live competitively in the American landscape. The black mind, you know, reflecting on drug use today. And for the white mind, you know, uh, you know, they say war on drugs and all this stuff. Listen, well, what do you do, when you know this group has the power to eradicate drug traffic overnight? Don't get me mired in building cases and stuff like that. This is the group that actively engaged in creating missiles that they could fly like a video game through your front door. These missiles can stop, pull out the keys, unlock the door, and come on in. In a sense, I'm making jokes about what these military devices can do, but come on, and you can't stop a little bit of drugs, heroin, cocaine, and all this stuff. I don't believe it. You know, but in general, it's the majority white group with this assignment. You know, and how convenient, like they put this situation in American society and they get black people caught up in it, and that they benefit because law enforcement has a job. The judiciary system gets a job prosecuting these cases. Penal system gets a job housing these convicted individuals. Yeah, what a deal. And all the whole time, black folks are giving their time. Well, how does it feel like to be part of a group that's actively engaged with intention? This isn't some accident that drugs came into America. You know, this is an active, very intentional circumstance going on. You know, I don't know how I would feel being part of a group doing that. Now, everybody's participating in all that, but I would say that let's follow the money. Who benefits the most from this activity? I think could just do a census, take a census of the gated communities around here and such, uh, and ask the white people, those judges, lawyers, doctors, um, correction officers, probably head CEOs making some serious that make serious money. You know, how motivated are they? Those white people in power, how motivated are they to see an end to drug trafficking in America? They ain't very motivated. That's their bread and butter. Get with it. With all that, got to be mindful about financial literacy. Big concern of mine. How money is spent. I finally got control of my finances. Slowed down. I take a weekly inventory, and I know my daily distribution of my finances. And my finances have corrected themselves. They got a lot of damage in the past to navigate, working on that. But overall, yeah, I feel good about my finances for the first time in decades. I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. He helped me label, categorize my experience. Before it was very mysterious what was going through. He helped me articulate it, and he's given me a lot of tools um, to reflect and use. Now I'm empowered. Now I'm starting to self-determine my life. His name is Dr. Claude Anderson. Read 3 of his works. First work, very important one. Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol by Black women supporting each other there, having their voice. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. If you can't find your flavor here on the World Wide Web, do what I did. Start your own. Okay? Get your family and friends on an private email list, and start from there. Um, you can go to Facebook and do a big thing, but trading, a lot of energy. A lot of people do make it there. Maybe I'll go there in the future with this material. We'll see. But right now, I'm okay. I got some stuff coming up in the next year. I'm very busy. And this project was actually bigger. I bit off almost more than I could chew, but I made a commitment to see it through. So we're just going for it. Finally, we are in our extended time of Uncle Tom's Cabin. Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work, fictional life of slaves and masters, institution politics, murder, some intrigue in America, mid-1800s roughly. Very important work. We're in an extended time. In light of me being on vacation, this is pre-recorded, and we're going from there. When I get back, we want to get into some heavier topics and stuff. It's time to get back into the classroom about some real important practical issues about being black in America. We are in to chapter 28. The title is Reunion on day 219 here. Reunion. I wonder what will be the reunion. We just had a death. Now Harriet Beecher Stowe, death and burial, where now she's talking about a reunion. Wonder where that's going. They're back on the plantation. Normalcy is returning. People are getting on without Eva around. She's definitely missed. St. Clare misses his motivation, his compass, his uh, reason for being, um, his bright light, his pole star, whatever you can think of. Um, that was Eva in his life. Thinking about the person you love, who you're attracted to, that person you are in love with. They don't even know it. They're just an acquaintance at work or a friend. You might not even know them. I was totally in love. I lived in a certain city. Oh, and this woman on the train. Oh, she's beautiful. And we talked. I forgot her name now. I was in love with her. Oh boy. But it just, she was married and stuff. Wow, man. Anyway, don't let me digress. That's St. Clair. He's missing this. Eva was such that some stability in his life. You know, he married the wrong woman, but fortunately, their union produced this great child, and she was just taken all too suddenly. You know, normalcy says that the children outlive the parents. You know, that's what our expectations are, of course. She's gone. He's still sad. Um, yeah, she represented what he was after in life. But it changed his motivation and his direction. You know, he's remember he had the what some circles would call a crisis of faith. He didn't understand what's going on. How could this be happening? He's asking a lot of questions, but enough of this has happened where he says, you know, there's more to life than oppressing and depriving these people, to lounging around while everybody else is working hard and reaping the rewards of their hard labor. He's reading the Bible more. I bet you maybe he's meditating on various psalms and proverbs. Maybe he's accessing some of the wisdom and worship in the Bible at this time. And you know, he finally strikes him. He's like, okay, the first I got Topsy out of the way. That was Ophelia's project. Now we got to work on Tom now, because Tom deserves it, and let's get that um, let's get that in motion now. There's a difference here. We want to pay attention to this because apparently, when a slave master is giving a gift of a slave to another white person, the paperwork's rather easy, very streamlined. When he gave Topsy to Ophelia officially, signed and delivered, he just wrote the deed of gift and had to be witnessed. Marie witnessed to that, signed her name, and it was done. There's no more. That paper is the contract. Not so when he's ready to emancipate Tom, because he's emancipating Tom wholly out into the world. Now there's a little, got to massage the system a little bit, and apparently it takes a little longer for that to happen. It's interesting in Roots when Chicken George got his freedom from his father, his master, uh, in the movie Roots, and in the book as well. Chicken George's father, master, only had to write it out, and that was enough. But Harriet Beecher Stowe, in her case, and it's probably different for different parts of the country and areas. In Tom's case, St. Clair maybe has to file some papers and more witnessing, and it's going to take a little more time than overnight writing these documents, getting a witness real quick, boom. Transfer of slave is easier than emancipating the slave, is what I'm getting at. But Tom's ready. He says, "Bless the Lord." He's happy, and St. Clair's like, "Man, I'm a little disturbed that you're in such a hurry to be out of my, away from me and all this." I disclaim, "Oh, thank you, Jesus," and your host is going to, stop writing and say, "Well, what? You're very anxious to be away. What's something you want to talk about?" Is St. Clair's idea. Just think it's been years now, getting upwards, maybe 3 or 4 years since Tom's been away from his family, going through all this St. Clair business and whatnot. And so, yeah, naturally he's ready. But Tom's like, no, it's not just to be away. It's because now I'm going to self-determine. I'm going to be self-empowered. I'm making some rules. You know, now I can get some land. I can make some decisions. I can make some choices. Raise my own food, position. Yeah. And hey, you know, I'm kind of moving in that sphere right now. The universe has opened up this 2 year window for me. And it's like, what you gonna do, James? Well, it took me a year to get my mind together after all the cocaine and alcohol kind of washed out. It takes about a year. You talk to anyone in recovery, they're going to tell you that first year is critical to get your systems online and get your mind right. It takes about a year, full year. So I got that out of the way. Now in my second year, I'm going to get my bachelor's degree in philosophy wrapped up. So, I feel Tom. It's like, I don't necessarily want to be away from you, but I am anxious to make my own decisions, make my own way, do my own thing, uh, buy my family back, get back home, stuff like that. Very important. Um, you know, that's what freedom would look like to the slave. They can go in and out, move about as their white slave masters. This is important too. Like, the big problem with emancipation was like, you know, the white folks have created essentially a welfare state, so they have to have a level of humanitarian effort. There needs to be some education, understanding how to be in the land to be competitive. Now we know from history that was not the case in general. In general, we had Jim Crow, semi-slavery, mass incarceration, uh, excessive prison terms, forced labor, even after the slaves were emancipated. Because some of the thought for the mind of the slave masters is like, well, we can't let them go because they don't know how to fend for themselves out there. Remember the Maryland edict about slaves, black people not being able to participate in the fruits and privileges of white folks. And then 25 years later, after creating that welfare state, they say, well, all black people are slaves. It's brutal, but it's a natural transition because you've barred this whole group of people from participating and being competitive. The only thing left is to take care of them, and you take care of them through welfare, prison terms, and things like that. Enslavement, essentially. Uh, so Tom's freedom, but from the slave's perspective, they now are ready. They perceive the ability, the opportunity to move about in and out in the world, like they see their white masters doing. But what they don't see is how to handle property, taxation, politics, voting. Right, that's a whole. You're saddled with a whole other thing. Sustaining yourself, commerce, running a business, things like that. Now they're close to it. I'm sure the slave. We find a lot of instances where the slave masters had trained some of the slaves for some of the upper management issues, but to take the full weight of those responsibilities is a whole nother issue in emancipating a slave. So there's some issues that comes out in conversations in the text, but just not here where Tom is about to be emancipated. Um, Tom's like, having my own beats, you handing me what you think is right all the time. Just get out of the way. I'll grow my own food, keep my own. I think Tom is very skilled now. He's If there's a slave ready, he's not a slave that's been out in the field all his life and absolutely ignorant and illiterate. He's got some skills. He would actually get along just fine. If you gave him that 40 acres, a mule, and $100, success, guaranteed. He wants his own. He doesn't want to live in the wake of white people's success and efforts anymore. He's ready to get outside and carve a whole new path on his own. He gets to self-determine his life. I'm going in that direction. But he says, I'm going to stay to help master. Tom feels something still, some spiritual commitment. Um, you know, he's compelled to stay uh, with St. Clare there because there's still some of God's work that needs to be done on the Shelby plantation pertaining to St. Clare. It's He says everyone has a mission or work to do, whether big or small, wherever you're at. That's Tom's conviction, uh, and it's going to take some time. Like I said, after this announcement of emancipation, it's still going to take some time to get this happening. Harriet Beecher Stowe is indicating that there's some bureaucracy, there's a time element, there's some things still need to happen, paperwork, who knows what it's like, if it's like a child fighting for their emancipation in today's world. A child is like, I don't like it here at home, so they got to file papers from the state. Those kind of things just don't happen overnight. It's a process. So there's a time element. Tom's committed. Tom feels he still has some things to work on or work with St. Clare, especially in the passing of Eva at this time. Everybody's got a work to do for God. St. Clare is one of Tom's most recent assignments, and he's going to fulfill that. So we're going to have to wait around and see. Um, everything's kind of in stasis. We had a emotional, spiritual uproar with Eva. She's passed away. Things are coming back to normal, and what's going to be the outcome of this? That's only part one, the beginning of the chapter, laying the groundwork. We're celebrating the good news that Tom uh, is going to be freed by St. Clare. St. Clare is finally, the dam has broken. It was Eva's wish too. She presented him with the idea, engaged in some philosophical arguments. You know, he's the guy holding the keys to the lives of all these black people on his plantation. Um, Tom's closest, and he just can't take it anymore. His mother's early teachings are coming to bear upon him. Uh, Eva got into his heart and then left. So that's smoked him in his mind. Tom is now gravitating towards him, obviously deserving. Overall, slavery is a violation. Uh, but let's say slavery was okay, all things being equal. Then Tom is definitely deserving of emancipation and his freedom in this system. Well, St. Clare already knew this. St. Clare already felt this from the teachings of his mother. Um, Now the dam is broken, and he's about to make some big and serious changes. Uh, his life, everyone around him, he's going in a whole nother direction with this slavery thing and his life. Let's see what's going to happen as we continue the story tomorrow. But today's 219, 365 days towards racial change. I'm Tomlin Nyback, and we will see you tomorrow.